Today we're going to be learning a method that's called box and whisker plot. Pretty simple, very similar to what we have been looking at in our class. So let's start with some data. The hardest part of this thing is I'm going to put my numbers in order from small to large. I'm going to put them in order, and I must find the number in the center. I count my data. There's 11 numbers that I put in order. So 11, I have 11 numbers. 11 is not an even number. So to make it even, let me subtract 1. That makes it 10. 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So I'm going to draw a line such that I have 5 numbers on each side of my line. So I find a number in the middle. Now, looking to the left, I see there's a list of 5 numbers. Let me find my number in the center. Looking on the right, on the last 5 numbers, from those 5 numbers, let me find my number in the center. I know we call those quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3 when we were dealing with interquartile range. We said quarter 3 minus quarter 1. All right, so I have those 3 lines. Now I'm gonna make a number line. It's just that my numbers are, too big. I'm not gonna go count by ones. In this case, I'm gonna count by 50 because I want to reach all my numbers. So I'm going to be counting by 50s. The 3 lines that I have, the 3 numbers that I have, let me put them on my number line. So they're my 3 lines. I'm going to close them up just to make a box. So that's why we call this box and whisker plot. So I just made my box. Now my whisker, I'm thinking of those whiskers of the cats, and on their faces you can think of the whiskers. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a line that goes as far down as 1,325. That's the smallest number that I have on my list. And as far right as 1,765. So I'm just going to make my lines and my dots right where my smallest number is and my biggest number is. All right, let's take a look at question number 2. I'm going to put my numbers in order from small to large. Now, let me find my number in the center. I notice there's 11 numbers. All right, I count how many numbers I have. 11 minus 1 is 10. That way I make it even. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm going to draw a line such that I have 5 numbers on each side of my line. Now, on the first 5, right, on the left side, I have 5 numbers. Let me find a number in the middle. On the right side, I have 5 numbers. Let me find my number in the middle. Now, I'm going to make a number line, but in this case, I'm going to be counting by ones, right? I have my numbers that are pretty close to each other. So I'm going to be counting by ones. And let me draw my lines 68, 70, and 71. Those are my quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. So I made those lines. Let me close them up. That way I make a box out of them. Now I'm going to make my whiskers is going to go as far left as 66. And I'm choosing 66 because that's the smallest number on my list. And as far right as 73 because that's my biggest number on my list. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. Looking at question number 3, let me put my numbers in order from small to large. I count how many numbers I have. There's 10 of them. 10 is an even number, so I'm going to separate them such that I have 5 numbers on each side of the line. Right, I'm going to put a line, I call it in the middle, because that way I have the same amount of numbers on each side of my line. Now, on the left, there's 5 numbers, so let me draw the line that goes in the middle. And on the right, there's 5 numbers. Let me draw a line that goes through the middle. So I have almost all my numbers. I see 7 and 18. Now, the one in the middle is right in between 10 and 13. So the way I'm going to find out what that number is, I'm going to go 10 plus 13 divided by 2. I'm going to add my 2 numbers and divide it by 2. This case, it happens to be 11.5. All right, so I'm going to draw a numbered line. This case, I'm going to be counting by 5s. Let me draw my 3 lines at 7, at 11.5, and at 18. Let me close them up. That way I make a box out of them. Now, before I make my whiskers, I notice that my numbers from 3 to 18 are not too far apart. Now 35 and 65, they made a big jump. This is what we call outliers. So what I'm going to do for right now, when I make the whiskers, let me ignore these outliers. Let me ignore these numbers. So I'm going to make my whiskers as far left as 3 and as far right as 18. So I make the whiskers there. Now the outliers, we don't just ignore them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to include them on my graph, just as simple dots. And the reason why I call it outliers is because there was a big jump between 35 and 18. There was a big jump. So that's what we call outlier. It's just a number way, way out there. All right, let's take a look at our last example. Let's take a look at number 4. I count how many numbers I have. There's 9 numbers. Let me find a number in the middle. So let me make a line right in the middle. There's 4 numbers on each side. So let me draw a line that separates it right in the middle. From those 4 numbers on the right side, let me split them in half. Now, my quarters, I noticed that quarter 2 is 31.7. So I can easily see that. Now, quarter 3, it's right in between 36.3 and 36.3, right? When the number repeats, I'm going to call this 36.3. Now, for my quarter 1, I'm going to have to add the 2 numbers, 27.1 plus 27.2. And my result, I'm going to divide it by 2. And that gives me 27.15. So let me make a number line. In this case, I'm counting by 2s. I want to be able to fit everything. So I'm going to be counting by 2s. Let me draw my 3 lines at 27.15, 31.7, and 36.3. Let me close them up. That way I make a box out of it. I notice that my numbers there's not much difference between each of my numbers. So I don't have an outlier like I did in number 3. So in this case, I'm going to make my whiskers as far left as 25 and as far right as 44. And that's what we called box and whisker plot.